What a year.
Okay, is that better? Okay. All right, I'd like to start the May 1st meeting of the Buckingham Township Planning Commission. First item on the agenda, the approval of draft planning minutes of March the 6th, 2024. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay.
A second. March 6th.
Okay, any additions, changes? Okay, all in favor? Okay. The first item on the agenda is the preliminary final approval of the McIntyre project. If you folks would please come up, please, and give our secretary all the information, please. Can you talk real loud?
I will.
Thank you.
My name is John Genovese. I work for Tri-State Engineers and Land Surveyors in Peaceland, Pennsylvania. And I'm here with Kathy McIntyre and Mr. Fred Dunn.
Can you stand up, please, so we can see?
We're here tonight to, the applicants are proposing to transfer 3 acres of land. This is a lot line change. Properties are located on Lower Mountain Road. The addresses are 3152 Lower Mountain Road and 3182 Lower Mountain Road. I've got an easel over there on the other side. I can do a couple things and maybe help you out just to show what's going on. I'll show you aerial view first.
I believe your last page was a colored
Yes.
edition. Maybe that would be the best for
Yeah.
folks to see. Let's get that up
Yeah,
first,
that's the
please.
area.
Easiest to explain to people what it is that you're going to be doing.
So, Lower Mountain Road, my plans, the Dunn property is on the right side, that's, 3182, and McIntyre property is this long, property on the left side, and that's 3152. Right now, the, property line runs, vertically from Mountain Road, Lower Mountain Road to the back. And what the applicants are proposing is to transfer this rectangular piece from the Dunns to the McIntyres, so that the area would be used as pasture for the sheep. There will be clearing of dead trees and some underbrush to turn the area into a pasture. Other than that, there won't be any improvements. Cody Spadaccino, who is here from our office, has met with staff and your landscape architect, and they, looked at the parcel. There will be a plan that will be developed to show which trees will be saved, which trees will be removed. We have a letter from the Township Engineer that's dated April 29th. We've gone through that carefully. All the items in that letter will comply with. And we have a letter from your landscape architect that's dated April 12th, 2024. comply with all the comments in that letter also. And that's it.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I just wanted to just add to this, the Dunn property is currently under 319, so this will be a multi-year transition, that the parcel will be added to the McIntyre site. Things that the township had done before, by checking track lane, and as I am aware that the county is aware of what the proposal is, and has authorized this process. Just so everyone's aware, when you enter into Act 319, you're given a preferred assessment, your taxes are held back, and because you limit the amount of land that you can transfer off of the property to subdivide or give to your neighbor, to 2 acres a year, or you'd be subject to rollback. So in this case, they're going from one property to another, not creating new parcels. So this isn't necessarily a thing that's objectionable to the county, nor should the township be worried about it.
Any other comments from you?
I did have one comment. The applicant indicates that the transfer land will be used as a meadow for steer. The plans indicate that the proposed use on lot 1 is single-family detached B1. So I just was looking for some clarification as to whether the principal use is B1 or is it A1 agriculture with steer.
Did you say B1?
Yeah, B1 single-family detached
okay.
versus A1 agriculture.
So you said it'll still be, this principal use will be what, I'm sorry?
Residential.
Residential. Okay. Are there any existing buildings or structures that need to be aware of or concerned about?
No, there are existing buildings, of course, there's a single-family residence and there's outbuildings. Also on the Dunn property, the same, but there are no buildings in the 3-acre area that need to be removed.
Okay, okay. So the steer are not using this parcel today, or are you?
No, we're not using it today.
It's not being used at all today.
When?
When would the steer be using the property?
Oh, okay. How many heads do you propose? Oh, okay.
And are other neighbors that need to be contacted or spoken to? They're all fine with this.
And Carol, you're happy with the trees that are being moved down?
There are a number of dead ash trees. So those that are already on the ground or on the verge of falling over, so they will definitely be cleared out. This is what it has been cleared. There's some actually some very nice, there's one very large oak tree that's up close to the rooftop. I think it's like 40.
Excuse me, is there any reason why we can't be in the meeting here?
I'm sorry?
Sorry. I'm asking a question. Nobody can hear anything.
There's some very nice trees on the site.
You're not being fair to the other folks who are listening. I'm trying to accommodate the best I can. I can't allow anybody else in the room, so we all should be quiet and listen. But it's not even the issue. This is another issue. If you're informed, if you'd like to comment on that, we will accommodate that. I'm just asking for your patience. I can't overload this room and have a hazard pad. I'm with the police department. I'm not the supervisor. I'm not the zone. I'm just asking for your assistance.
The outline portion, that is the 3 acres, or that is the part that's transferred in the first row?
The total 3 acres.
That's the total.
That's the total for you.
So how will, I guess, the phase will?
I think the first phase is just under 2, and that's obviously closest to the McIntyre. The remaining part is
Thank you.
Very good.
Anybody else? Anybody here? Yes, sir.
You want me to stand up?
Yes, please, and give us your name and address, please.
Hi, Rick Buckles. I live in 1865 just south of McIntyre. I haven't had a chance to speak to you, I'm sorry. But I'm curious, it looks like a simple lot split. But there appears to be two phases. So I'm wondering if we're just creating a flag lot here for future development of the 12 acres and not the steer, because the steer currently are in the back. So I don't know what the future plan is. My concern, I live just to the south, attached to the property, so it would appear from the second split that that's creating the driveway to access the rear of the 12 acres. And that's not the case. It's just split like that because of the rules that govern how the property has to be transferred under the agreement, under the easement.
And just, there are no new lots being created. This is a lot line change, so while it's complicated that it's two-phase, we basically moved the lot line twice. So the first one is gonna move, and they're taking 2 acres from the Duns and transferring that to the McIntyres this year, next year, whenever all the process goes through. And then in another year after that, that remaining 1 point plus or minus 10, I think, 1.1 acre is going to be attached to the McIntyre property. So there won't be any new parcels created, there's no lane lots. This is literally just a land swap from one property owner to this neighbor. It happens over 2 years because of the Act 319 covenant, right?
And lane lots would not be allowed in phase U1?
There are lane lot requirements that obviously there's the lot requirements, and it really depends on the actual lots in question. I don't want to say that it's not prohibited. I think you can do some in certain instances. But this is not a lane lot. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Somebody else?
I'm just curious, what Cross Street was on Lower Mountain, where on Lower Mountain is this?
It's, the cross street is Franklin. Yeah, there's a Franklin is just opposite the driveway of 3152. The closest intersection is to the west, which is Lower Mountain Road West.
The other side of the park. Oh, if you keep going, right, so it's just up, it's between the split where Forest Grove West splits off of Forest Grove toward the village of Forest Grove, so then you have Forest Grove versus the other intersection with Lower Mountain. Swamp is
Lower Mountain
further
West.
away.
Lower Mountain West.
And Forest Grove are the down,
The other one.
right, on the other side.
Sugar Bottom would be on the other end.
After that, yes.
Okay.
That,
Any other questions on this particular plan?
1 second. Anybody have questions on this? For the Lower Mountain? I understand that. Anybody have any questions on item number 1 of the Lower Mountain tract?
Okay, thank you. Would somebody like to make a motion on this? If you don't have any other questions, please.
Motion to recommend approval of the McIntyre project lot line change, that's a board staff approval.
No second that?
Any more discussion?
coming back. Just four.
Can you like to talk loudly as you can? Use the microphone, please. Okay, let's do this.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm Murphy. My right is Greg Litzer. Greg is from the Gilmore office. Greg is the project engineer. Greg and I, together with other consultants, were both here 2 months ago, February 6th, when we made our initial presentation of the preliminary as final land development plans for the development of the East Rolliman tract or a proposed industrial warehouse. Since that meeting, we have revised and resubmitted plans to address the review comments that were in Dan Gray's review letter and other consultant review letters dated February 6th, plus or minus. And since then, we got as earlier this week, Dan's review letter of April 29. We've had a chance to go through it. Greg has talked to Dan, got a couple of items in the review. And generally speaking, we have no issue with the review comments. We have no issue with the other review comments and the other consultants, including Carol, who has also issued a review on behalf of the Landscape Review Committee. There are 2 comments that probably Greg wants to address. One deals with a more technical engineering issue. The other deals with a potential conflict between a comment in Carol's letter and one in Dan's letter dealing with the treatment of the buffer zone. But other than those 2 comments, which we will comply with, that's not an issue. We just want to highlight those issues for the benefit of the board and the audience. And beyond that, we are comfortable moving ahead with the plans that we've submitted. I would remind the board that back in February, we did review all of the requested waivers that were associated with the project. Dan, back in February, did support conditionally one of the waivers, and he's now, no pun intended, wavering on that waiver, but that is the topic of the conversation that Greg had with Dan on that, so we'll clarify that. But other than that, I think we are comfortable and accepting of the review comments we've received in this round of reviews based on this plan. The plan itself has not changed in terms of the size of the proposal, of the building, access points, all the other issues. We've dealt with some improvements to Stony Road that have been commented upon previously, but I'll let Greg talk about that. So, Greg, you want to highlight those couple of things?
Sure, I'll go with the issue that it kind of got backwards. It was in Dan's letter and not in Carol's. It has to do with the consideration of buffer yard against our, what we're calling parcel A, which is this square piece here that is being conveyed to Buckingham Airport Authority. They currently have easement over that property to maintain the height of trees for the airport and approach zone. There's a suggestion that we don't know for sure whether the final fate of this is to be clear cut or like it's been in the past, just to maintain the height of trees. There were some earlier suggestions that we install a buffer yard here. I think Carol and our landscape architects thought that maybe it was not required. We do have this design set up for that 50-foot buffer yard if it's needed. So at some point, we'd like some direction on that aspect of it.
And I think perhaps if you could get some reply from the airport authority as to their ultimate plans for that area, if they are going to be confirm to the township that it's not gonna be clear, then we can get the requirements, or that condition put on the record plan that they're not gonna clear cut that area, that you're no longer gonna control, then we can use that as the offset buffer. If on the other hand, they have any intentions on removing it, we'd like to see one. That's my recommendation.
And that's fine.
That's it.
Okay?
The other issue is related to our waiver list, and we did submit a revised waiver list, and first waiver was a withdrawal for consideration of the plan as preliminary and final. We would go with a separate preliminary plan process and then a final plan process. And there's some, some potential offsites that will be designed, and some but things we just don't have the answer to right now as far as an end user intent. So that's the first of the waivers. The one that Ed referenced was a waiver that we asked from a provision of the subdivision ordinance for cuts and fills greater than 4 feet in height. And because of the topography of the site and the improvements that are being made, we have a need to move more earth in that and flatten out a pad and drop loading docks in those areas. So it's almost impossible, given the strength of the site, to comply with that ordinance provision. However, we have done a earthwork balance calculation, which is required of the final plan. We did the preliminary. As we make final tweaks, final design, we have the opportunity to balance the site. So we have a lot of material that is actually coming out of our underground stormwater management chambers. We know we'll have a lot of extra topsoil too. So we have the ability to do one of several things. One, the topsoil will mix in, and that will form the amended soil in our rain gardens and other areas. We have excess topsoil that we can either balance. We don't really want to raise the site. We could balance with another foot of elevation, but we're trying to keep it low and limit the visibility as much as possible. But at final plan, Dan suggested that we look at the crosstalk configurations as maybe a way to adjust some of the excess material that we're creating, because those are low grades, and we have to drain them. They drain down into the rain gardens, so as they're low, the things that are below them are lower, creating more earth. But with the final fit out, we don't know what the final configurations for our tenants are, but the final plan, we would probably have that information. We would consider looking at relocating and or kind of right-sizing the docks for any potential tenant we have. So I think we can address that. In any case, our earthwork will remain on site with no need for import or export.
And again, just one thing I want to add to this. If you recall, when we did revisions to the subdivision land development ordinance several years ago, we kind of modified some of the cut and fill requirements to specify that 4 foot plus or minus, but more importantly, to get the balance calculation so that we weren't completely ignoring some of the issues, that comes with cut and fill. But also the driving factor, a lot of that analysis was, we were seeing at that time a lot of strip and build development, and the board at the time specifically wanted to make sure that we maintained, with house footprints, relative to the existing, rather than kind of creating, retaining wall, housing development where you have significant cut and fills to, squeeze more houses in. So this requirement, the real genesis of it is a residential development accommodation so that we would get away from that strip and build. It does kind of run afoul with, larger warehouse footprints, or really any kind of big building. We've waived this a couple times in the past with other developments where we do have those larger pads. SICOM would have been one of them. It's a very similar footprint, maybe not as large as this, but the idea is that it's difficult when you have a site to balance it with a very flat pad, which restricts as how you can cut and
How
fill.
many yards is he trying to lose?
I don't,
What do you-
We're at, 28,000 yards.
That's coming up.
can you give your name, I'm sorry?
Al Bend, 4518 Deep Creek Way, about less than a quarter mile from Progress Meadow.
Just, yeah, just to.
Our secretary needs to know this, so please, if you wanna just stand up and. No, we're gonna wait your comments until the end, so let's finish up, please.
So, just a quick closure to that.
Be respectful,
What we-
please.
In the landscape, the perimeter landscape buffers, we have these all on grade right now. We certainly could, put those on meandering berms, up and down berms, give the material a little extra height, so we're very confident that we've got a balanced site. And we would never wanna cut it back close, either too much cut or too much cut.
And again, I'll reiterate, one of the issues, when this was initially submitted, it was submitted as preliminary final, so those calculations in their preliminary configuration were required, as we, worked with the developer to, address all of these other outstanding issues. We're going to eventually get final plans, which you will see a more robust, cut fill analysis, cut fill map, so we're going to get a lot more information as the design is finalized. So what we have now is one sheet cut fill analysis. There will be a more, intensive evaluation once we get the final.
Next. Okay, well, we do. I guess one of the reasons that, we needed some more information is the traffic. We had some issues last time, there have been some changes, I understand, could we get filled in on that, please?
Yeah, so, most of it relates to improvements to Stony Road, and, we'll start at the intersection of the driveway with Stony Road, where we incorporated a raised median to ensure exiting traffic is right turn out only. So that's on the plan. We also took a look at the requirement for road improvements. There was some concern, we asked for a waiver because of the waiver we previously asked for was for Cold Spring Creamery Road. And we still retain that waiver. We're still asking for a waiver to prevent, or to not do improvements to Cold Spring Creamery Road. But what we are,
Hold on, let the man speak.
but in lieu of that, we have committed to improving to Township standards Stony Lane from the driveway to Lansville Road.
Okay.
So that is 24-foot wide, 2-foot shoulders.
Guys, would you wait a minute, please, let the guy speak.
We can't hear.
Now, he said that there will be improvements on Stony Lane, but they will not have improvements on, Cold Spring Creamery Road.
Correct.
Is that correct?
How about Landis Hill? And why? Birdhouse Hill, why?
There's nothing going on Cold Spring Creamery Road.
Trucks.
Guys, please get in here.
The traffic impact study included a schematic for Old Easton and Landisville Road, the intersection, large striping to channelize the turning movements there, so we don't have sort of a drifting merge that you encounter, more of a right angle and always stop as proposed.
Okay, and what's going to happen at that intersection of, Landisville and Old Easton?
That's one of
Oh, okay, so that's going to be enlarged, improved?
kind of not enlarged, but put on a big diet to channelize it and define the movement better.
Okay, is there a chance of maybe making it a four-way stop?
Yes, yeah,
About that has to go on.
yes, that is proposed.
Okay.
And Progress Meadow at Burnt House Hill, which plan is there?
Hold on. Also, one of the comments in the letter was that, the number of pedestrians on Stony Lane did not warrant any not bike paths, personal walking paths. I think I would like to see that. I realize it's only 27 people, like 27 may grow into 57. So I think that should be something that we should consider.
Right, and given the configuration of Stony and the voice parcel along the frontage, and some of the other parcels as well, it was a suggestion that we look at deferring that until the remainder of the original voice track, which is now owned by the airport authority, is developed, so that we can integrate paths that actually would go behind the out parcel.
When is that supposed to happen? Any ideas?
I don't really know. What we plan on doing is, once we have a level of approval here and we can secure the easements from the authority, we would bring back in that minor subdivision plan that has conditional approval and get that done as sort of the first step and get that plan approved. So that would be the first step to some more advanced planning being done for the voice track, or for the airport track, sorry.
I would not like to have the exit done until some kind of walking path, walking road is done on the pedestrian side. So whatever that's supposed to happen is fine, but let that happen first. Let the pedestrian path on Stony Lane go before the truck path. Does that make sense? Okay.
So, and I
Don't
just
call
want to
this
clarify,
light industrial.
Just a minute.
just to clarify, the frontage where they are improving is above the voice track. Are you looking for pedestrian facilities from Coldstream Premier Road all the way through to the airport property essentially? Or are you just looking in the area where there's industrial improvement?
All the way down. Down, Stony,
To end.
to the end, yes.
The township does not, and I'm just advising you, the township does not have right of way on those off-site properties. It is part of our, master trail plan to ultimately connect Coldstream Premier Road to Plumstead, but there has not been any, right of way acquisitions, as typically done here. We get when development comes through. I think we have the requirement for the voice track when the original voice farmhouse was taken out, that we would consider the road improvements along the entire frontage when the voice track was ultimately developed. So that was kind of included in that last review when voice came into that minor subdivision. Actually, the airport authority came into the minor subdivision. So we still retain the ability to get sidewalks, pedestrian, bike paths, whatever we want to require from Coldspring to the end of lot 1 or lot 2 of the voice track. So what we know is the voice track we do have the ability to acquire beyond that, which is off-site parcels. We do not have right away, nor do we have the ability to require this applicant to do that just as a standard applicant. Now, obviously, you've got other waivers you're considering, you could include that in your recommendation. Just wanted to forewarn you that we don't have the right of way to do that.
Understand, but that's something I think we should have. Definitely will recommend that.
But we can start working on that.
Yes.
You know, with the airport authority on the airport side as well, with the significant area, so. Looking.
We're here for the plan today and tomorrow, right? And we include that in the recommendation.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody?
Just a question, as far as, the trucks going in and out, whatever, is there overnight parking that's being planned for any of this? Oh, I'm sorry. Is my microphone working?
It is.
We'll try this. How's that? I'll lean this way. Okay. Is there? Yeah. Never mind. Is there any overnight truck parking plan for any of this? Is that?
No, I think in discussion with the applicant last time, we committed to no parking overnight
But overnight operations,
Operations.
as well.
24 hours maybe?
No.
No control?
That was
first saw this plan, I was so happy to see the extent of the light industrial. I was very happy to see that it's, all the buildings contained at the back of the site. I was very happy to see that 50% of the land is conserved rather than all of it used. I was very happy to see that it wasn't many of the planned industrial uses that it could be. So thank you.
I'm good for now.
Right? Okay, I guess our problem still is the truck traffic and,
Operation times too.
sorry? Okay, just hold on. You have a chance for questions. Let us get this out of there, see what else that they can say. That was, I think, the big, concern for us is, and obviously all these folks, is the traffic. So most of us feel that the warehouse is the better of some of the things that could be here. I don't know if you folks got a chance to print this out for you, so you could have a chance to see it. The things that could go in there would be a junkyard. Motor vehicle.
Industrial park, microwave or satellite dish antenna, fuel storage,
Reserved farmland.
How about a park?
How about another park?
Stop talking, she would be able to hear.
I also want to make sure that you all understand the process of planning. We've all been here with planning commissioners, we know how this works, and Pennsylvania as a state requires that we have zones for housing, we need zones for industrial, we need zones for agriculture. And this is industrial. This was planned a long time ago, this is industrial. When you all moved in and bought your houses, you knew it was industrial.
Listen to this. Listen to this. Oh, this is going to get good.
No way. The airport was supposed to be smaller too.
This is a much bigger industrial development.
All right, folks, I know a lot of you have comments to make, so to move things along, you're saying the same thing as the person before you said, let's try to keep it open on something different. Mr. Bateman, if you would please make a statement and let people, but let's move it along, because people will say the same thing over again. We understand you have a traffic issue, no problem.
We're allowed to have our say.
So why don't you go ahead and make your statement and then we'll go ahead with that. Sure. Okay, that's fine. I think he has his own electronics.
Like, is this for the planning commission or is this for the public?
Go, talk, please. I don't know, let's see what he's got to comment on.
I mean, you can split it so everyone can see it. I just wanted to turn it away from the planning commission, so that you were asking them to consider something.
Yeah, have these folks say it too, please. Yeah, it's fine.
Good evening, everyone. Mike A. past few months, the residents of Buckingham have come together in solidarity over this proposed development project. It's not an understatement to say that the vast majority of this community is opposed to this project for a litany of reasons. We plan to share those reasons tonight. As a community, we have organized a formal group dedicated to doing whatever we can to prevent this dangerous project from being built amidst our rural community streets. Our grassroots community has formed a steering committee that meets regularly, and we have worked with all of the concerned citizens to pool our resources and expertise together. As the chair of the Buckingham Warehouse Steering Committee, I'm both honored to be presenting here tonight, yet I'm flabbergasted that it's even necessary. Tonight, each of the steering committee members will provide a short statement. Victoria Bresnahan will speak to the environmental dangers of this project. Jen Pothoff is going to speak to the grave safety concerns this project will create. And lastly, Jeff Lauber will present what we have discovered to be a clear and deliberate misrepresentation of this project in order to skirt zoning requirements that would have stopped this project before it even got off the ground. Without further ado, Victoria.
Please,
I'm going to declare.
thank you.
You need to like speak right into it.
I want to start off by thanking all of you for being here. We are a strong community. I'm Victoria Bresnahan, and I live on Landisville Road. There is no question that the Petrucci Warehouse will bring a long list of negative environmental impacts to our close-in community in Buckingham, as well as Greater Bucks County. Everything from the soil beneath our feet, to the water we drink, to the air that we breathe is in jeopardy if this warehouse is built as currently planned. Tonight, I want to focus specifically on the air quality hazards created by the 18-wheeler traffic that the developer has estimated at 90 trips per day, but in reality, could go even higher. Organizations like the EPA and the National Toxicology Program agree that diesel engine exhaust is carcinogenic to humans, with links to lung and bladder cancer, as well as non-cancerous health issues like neurological, cardiovascular, respiratory, reproductive, and immune system damage. The most vulnerable members in our community, the children and the elderly, are at an even higher risk of illness caused by diesel exhaust that these trucks will spread throughout our community. But we need to worry about more than just the toxins released as these trucks travel our small country roads, because there's something called dwell time in the trucking industry. It's the time spent waiting at facilities that's outside of the loading and unloading time, when drivers leave their trucks idling as they wait. No matter how efficient a warehouse might be, dwell time is unavoidable, which means that the homes surrounding the warehouse will be subjected to near constant diesel exhaust. Couple the warehouse's daytime work hours with the proposed overnight trucking facilities, which were in the last plan submitted, which increases the truck's idle time, and the community will be dealing with record levels of dangerous truck fumes. And keep in mind that we'll also be combating the noise generated by these trucks as they deliver and idle, which ranges from 80 to 90 decibels. The noise level set by the Federal Highway Administration for trucks traveling along an interstate road, not tiny two-lane country roads like we live on, is set at 85 decibels. But Buckingham's noise ordinance for this type of zoning taps out at 75 decibels between 7 and 10 and 72 decibels overnight. While noise level measurements end at the property line, I think we can all agree that this measuring system only benefits the developer, and the increase in noise pollution will be devastating to our community. The Stop the Warehouse group has been working with reps from the Pennsylvania DEP, as well as local environmental groups, to confront the many threats that this warehouse poses. The negative environmental impacts of the Petrucci warehouse are clear, and we refuse to stand by and let outside interests and landowner apathy destroy the health and safety of our community.
Wonderful.
Just take off the microphone. first, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Pothoff, and I live in the former schoolhouse built in 1857 on Church School Road,
Buckingham, right?
Buckingham.
Okay.
I'm honored to speak today on behalf of the Stop the Warehouse Group, a coalition of residents who have joined a community Facebook group and signed a petition against the development of this warehouse. Unlike the current landowner and Bucks County Commissioner Eugene DiGirolamo and the developer J.G. Petrucci, we live here, and our coalition of neighbors care about the quality of life and safety here in Buckingham, Plumstead, and Doylestown. Our coalition is not political, and we have a strong representation across all political affiliations in our group. In addition to the long list of negative environmental impacts that Victoria spoke about, there is a long list of safety hazards that would be introduced by a warehouse potential distribution center like this. I will focus today on the safety of our roads, since this is one of the risks that a majority of the people in this room are very concerned about. According to J.G. Petrucci's plans, the warehouse will bring 90 tractor-trailer trips per day into the narrow roads of Buckingham and Plumstead, past our homes, past our schools, past our camps, and past our parks. The warehouse plan has accommodation for the trucks to stay overnight. I know you're saying it doesn't, but it was in the plan. And which means that the drivers who are not local residents will be traveling our narrow, unfamiliar roads 24/7 and potentially stay all night. In addition to the trucks, the plans include travel for 300 employees to enter the warehouse off Burnhouse Hill Road. Some of the risks of adding these 90 truck trips and 300 employees traveling our rural roads per day include, number one, not knowing the road. And this is from a study, when drivers aren't aware of the turns in the road or traffic patterns, it can cause drivers the inability to anticipate the road ahead and lead to crashes. 2, taking a turn too fast. We all know these are windy, narrow roads. When drivers take a bend in the road at higher speeds, it can cause them to lose control and cross over the center lane or drive off the road. 3, unexpected hazards. When drivers are surprised by an unexpected hazard, such as an animal or a person, including children, crossing the road, it can lead to a crash. And I was very relieved to hear Andrea's concern about Stony Lane, because I was just on Stony Lane yesterday watching someone walk their dog up Stony Lane. And I don't think, and that those houses have been here a lot for a very long time, and those people have a right to walk their dogs on Stony Lane. Number 4, distracted driving. When drivers, truck drivers, or employees who are going to be entering this warehouse participate in texting while driving or other types of distracted driving, it can also cause them to be involved in head-on collisions. Number 5, hazardous materials. According to the developer, none of us know what's going to be stored in this warehouse or who's going to even use the warehouse. According to the developer, the proposed warehouse is a speculative design with no specific tenant lined up. Therefore, they cannot guarantee who will use this and what will be stored there. If the ultimate user decides to store hazardous materials, these hazardous materials will be on our roads. During transportation, mishandling of hazardous materials can cause combustion, explosion, leakage of poison or radioactive materials, and other accidents which pose a major threat to the personal property and environmental safety of our community. In closing, I want to encourage the Planning Commission to listen to the concerns of the Buckingham residents. Our coalition is listening, and we know there is strong opposition to building a warehouse like this in our community. A warehouse like this does not belong in our community. It should be built on an existing highway, not built and then expect our community to turn our rural roads, narrow roads, into a highway. Landisville Road and Stony Lane are not a highway. Our roads are for the enjoyment of the community. Neighbors who want to walk, run, and bike along the road without risking their lives or the lives of their children. And we demand the Planning Commission listen to our concerns and stop this warehouse.
Yes.
My name is Jeff Loudon.
Yeah, just hold on to the microphone, please. It's the easiest way in the long run. As loud as you can, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Loudon, Twinbrook Circle in Buckingham. I am here tonight to take you through key reasons why this Petrucci warehouse plan submission should never have been allowed to get to this point. Petrucci has gotten here by an incorrect representation of project zoning classification that, when understood, we believe should bring a halt to this project. Let's first discuss the applicable permitted use for these tracts of land. Petrucci submitted their plans to Buckingham Township under the Planned Industrial 2 District classification, called PI2, with the G3 end use of wholesale, storage, warehousing. This is on page 154 of the Buckingham zoning ordinance. If their project were a storage warehouse, it would be allowed, but it's not that. Petrucci's mistaken zoning classification is misleading the township and its residents by stating that the project end use is wholesale storage warehousing. The G3 warehouse storage warehousing end use on page 80 says, and I quote, "A commercial building for storage of goods and merchandise used by manufacturers, importers, exporters, wholesalers, transport businesses, customs, etc. They may provide loading docks to load and unload trucks." Petrucci will, of course, make the case that this represents their intentions. However, after reviewing Petrucci's plan submission, we can see that it's instead a cross-dock warehouse and distribution center with a big emphasis on distribution center. The zoning end-use classification that should have been submitted for this project is, quote, G6 truck terminal, unquote. Page 81 of the Buckingham zoning ordinances. Let's read the Buckingham zoning ordinance as it relates specifically to a G6 truck terminal. A G6 truck terminal is, and I quote, "a use of land or structures for the storage of trucks or the transfer of freight from one truck to another, excluding the transfer or storage of solid waste," unquote. It also goes on to state importantly that, and I quote, "short-term warehousing may be permitted under this use." This is also on page 81. Let's first take a minute to talk big picture about how warehouse-type buildings have evolved in recent years. In years gone by, warehouses were primarily places with just a few trucks, truck bays, where goods were stored for longer periods of time. When goods are stored for longer duration, storage warehouses require far fewer trucks that are coming in and out. In more recent years, though, with businesses becoming far more focused on speed to market for their goods, to reduce the company's working capital that's tied up in inventory, a greater percentage of warehouse-type buildings and their designs have become focused on the key objective of quick distribution. In cross-dock, as seen here, it's all about in-out speed and efficiency, as opposed to primarily storage. Let's now take a look at a video from High-Tech Interlogistics highlighting the functioning of a cross-dock warehouse and, importantly, how it's different from warehouse storage.
Where does this video come from?
This company has been in business since 1960s. High-Tech Interlogistics. It is a warehouse-involved company.
Where are they from?
I don't know where they're from. The U.S. I don't know exactly where their headquarters are in.
What made you choose them as a consulting input?
You'll take a look at the video, and the description that's been of this warehouse is cross-docking. We're making a comparison here between cross-dock and storage.
Not my question.
That's what made
you choose them as a consultant?
They're not a consultant. It's a video describing the difference between a cross-dock warehouse that's been described by Petrucci, this is what we're highlighting, and a storage warehouse. They have submitted as a storage warehouse.
I understand, I'm just challenging the credibility of the input, that's all.
You find it online.
Watch the video.
Okay, all right, let's take a time out. This video has been provided and information that you will receive. It will be posted online along with all of our materials. I
I would seriously encourage you to take a look at it at your leisure. Okay, it's very informative.
There's images in here that are informative.
Yeah, I don't think no. So in Petrucci's submission, storage warehousing is not the primary end use of the building. They have 30 cross-dock truck bays and an expected 90 in or out 18-wheeler trips per day. So here, distribution of goods is clearly the primary purpose. Let's now take a look at how representatives of Petrucci have described their building design. In our February 7th meeting, Mr. Glitzer from the Petrucci Design Firm of Field Morris and Associates, and this is in the meeting minutes, said, and I quote from the minutes, Mr. Glitzer explained that the project proposes 30 docks designed as a cross dock, unquote. The key words here are designed as a cross dock. If you have a chance to see the video, okay, you'll see that a cross dock warehouse is not primarily for storage. Its main task is for distribution. And the Buckingham zoning regulations, by the regulations, this makes the Petrucci submission a G6 truck terminal zoning definition. Wow. Warehousing expert, Mr. Dan Cook out of Minnesota, to prepare a report which we will be provided, delineating the design and function of a cross-dock warehouse. Mr. Cook confirms the plans indicate the proposed structure will be used as a cross-dock. Looking at the plans. Cross-docks are loosely defined as having the purpose of transferring freight from one truck to another, often directly across or nearly across the width of the building. A major hallmark of cross-docks are an equal number or near equal of dock bays directly across the building from one another, facilitating easy transfer of freight from one truck to another. The plans that he saw here, he noted, have such hallmark, this hallmark to its design. A copy of Mr. Cook's report has been provided in packets and will be given to you. We also include your packet for your review a Jones-Lang-LaSalle report. JLL is one of the leaders in the U.S. in commercial real estate. Okay, they've done a white paper, and it describes a truck terminal by definition, and it matches nearly exactly the Petrucci submitted plans. Okay, I would encourage you to take a look at that white paper. A copy of it is here. It will be provided to you later. You'll have electronic and hard copies. Okay. So where are we? We have shown that the Petrucci proposed building is not the submitted G3 storage-focused warehouse, but is instead a G6 truck terminal by definition. The submission was incorrect and should have been submitted to Buckingham Township as a truck terminal from the outset. Once it is properly classified as a truck terminal, now let's look back to the zoning ordinance. A truck terminal falls within the Buckingham zoning ordinance under the PI2 G14 industrial park definition. Okay? So a truck terminal needs to be in an industrial park. Yeah. One of the requirements of that definition, spelled out in point F, is that a truck terminal must be built with immediate access to an arterial highway. The four roads that sit surrounding the Giralamo tracks are all defined by Buckingham Township zoning ordinance as major feeder roads. They are not arterial highways. Defined examples of arterial highways in Buckingham are the far wider 313, 413, 202, and 263. The Giralamo tracks do not sit on an arterial highway as is required for a G6 truck terminal. There is, of course, also an obvious reason why the township ordinance only permits a truck terminal such as this to be placed on an arterial highway. Look at the amount and type of truck traffic that would otherwise come out of the small roads that are surrounded by homes. Additionally, Buckingham zoning ordinance for a G6 truck terminal on page 82, section M, also states, this use shall not be permitted within 1,000 feet of any pre-existing public or private drinking water supply systems or well. Creamery Road that back up to the DiGirolamo property are largely dependent on private wells for their drinking water. 4200 Cold Spring Creamery Road has a well that is 57 feet from the DiGirolamo tract property line. And the home at 4238 Cold Spring Creamery Road also has a well 115 feet from that property line. A number of other nearby properties surrounding the DiGirolamo tract are also on well, including that of Sportswear Plus at 4210 Burnhouse Hill Road. The Petrucci's proposal was misclassified from a zoning perspective when it was submitted, and when properly classified, a building of this type and end use cannot be constructed in this location for two reasons. It does not sit on an arterial highway. It has private wells within 1,000 feet. In summary, the Petrucci submitted plan was for a G3 storage warehouse, but it's really a G6 truck terminal. Per Buckingham zoning, truck terminal type warehouses are required to be on arterial highways, and the Buckingham Township roads surrounding the track are not arterial highways. So this warehouse cannot be built in this location. Ask the Buckingham Planning Commission to recommend against this plan submission tonight based on its clear misclassification of zoning. I know there's a lot here, so what I've said tonight, including the discussed supporting documents and the videotape, have been posted to our website, nobuckinghamwarehouse.com, for further review, and the documents will also be provided to you during the evening tonight.
Thank you.
Are you done your presentation?
No.
First of all, thank you, team. This took an incredible amount of work from all of us, and all of us by the community, so all of this was put in by so many people, so thank you for helping us reach where we're at. So thank you, everybody. Before we conclude, I'd also like to briefly touch on the 19 waivers that have been requested by the developer on this project. There are a few that should never even be entertained, such as the request to disregard our cuts and fills ordinance. There's no reason to grant this waiver in order to make this warehouse easier to build. We already know the Petrucci organization is trying to get out of doing even the minimal road improvements that would be required for this development's frontage. The surrounding roads would surely need much more than a facelift, likely resulting in costs well into the millions of dollars. Recently, in Dan Gray's response letter to Petrucci, he suggested that the township look into Resolution 1662 to possibly help fund some of the improvements. After conducting some research and talking with Dan, we know that this escrow account currently sits at $0 and added funds of $75,000 according to the ordinance, or the resolution as it's written. Granting this waiver would leave the taxpayers on the hook to fund road improvements for roads where they were never meant to have these trucks on them to begin with, unless, of course, the developer will volunteer to fund these road improvements as part of their plan. Furthermore, the environmental and safety concerns we just raised are nothing new and have been screamed from the rooftops for months by many of your neighbors here tonight. The commission has heard these before, and frankly, we understand these concerns don't really matter to this developer, and they also don't really apply to what you as a board consider. However, the most concerning item here tonight is Jeff's presentation perfectly showcasing why this property is not zoned for this truck terminal. We recognize that J.G. Petrucci is a professional and successful organization, no doubt. It is incredulous to believe that they mistakenly applied for the wrong zoning designation. They clearly applied under the current designation to make this project easier to build and hide what this project really is, a truck terminal that is not allowed in this land. I'm now going to be leaving each of you on the board and the developer with a printed copy of our presentation, as well as all corresponding documents and reports. Additionally, this packet has been emailed to our Board of Supervisors, our Township Solicitor Craig Smith, our township engineer Dan Gray, our township manager Dan Acosta, and is now available on our website after this meeting, nobuckinghamwarehouse.com, for a download by scanning the QR code that is on the screen. The package has also been shared with the press, but if there's any additional press here tonight that has not gotten one, please see me once my comments are over for a copy. In a book full of useful lessons about putting profit before all things, the Lorax of all things ends like this: unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Now we leave you all with one very easy thing to do. Listen to your neighbors. Recommend Buckingham deny this plan in front of you based on the clear fact that this does not comply with Buckingham zoning ordinance, and tell our supervisors the same. Thank you.
Victoria?
Yes.
You had indicated record levels of fumes. What were those levels? Are they in the report?
They're not, no. Would you like them? I can provide
No,
them.
I'm just saying, like you referenced record
I
levels.
did.
I'm just curious of what the record levels were.
I can get that for you, if you
Is
prefer.
that
I didn't
what-
realize that that would be required. I thought it
No,
was just an
I'm-
assumption
you
based
make
on
the
the
statement,
amount of
just
truck
asking the
traffic.
question. That's all, so
It's not included. I can provide it to you.
And you also referenced, you were discussing with representatives from the Department of Environmental Protection.
Yes.
Is there correspondence in this from them referring to those record levels or concerns with this application?
No, would you like to file a right to know request?
I can't answer. Your statements, I'm just asking, do you have anything from DEP that says this application is unacceptable or any reason why?
I
they
never
shouldn't
said
consider
that
it?
in my comments, that that's what they said. I said we were in talks. We are having conversations.
Right.
We
But
don't
they
have
haven't provided
recommendations
anything
yet.
that says this application is unacceptable to their levels of pollution.
At this point, it hasn't reached the DEP because it hasn't been approved.
Okay, but you had said you were in conversations with them,
We're-
so I thought you would.
We're in conversation.
Okay.
We're talking, just like
All right.
you and I are
And that's-
talking
and
right
that's what I'm
now.
asking you, just making sure, I just took some notes when you said you would talk to someone from DEP.
Yeah,
and I'm
we're
asking you-
talking.
And again, trying not to be argumentative, I'm just asking, because you're making statements, and if there's something in this report which we have not had a chance to review, you just gave us this tonight, and this applicant is asking for a recommendation to the board of supervisors, you're asking for something contrary to that. I don't have the time to sit here and read through this right now. It would have been helpful if we had it last week or whenever, and I'm not criticizing.
I was providing supporting details. I think Jeff's information is much more
I'm gonna get
important.
I have questions for Jeff as well.
Okay, great. No, but I'm just saying that
Jennifer?
in the scheme of what we've discussed tonight, his information is much more important than mine.
Okay.
And I'm sure you agree.
That's fine. You had stated over 300 passenger cars per day at Burnhouse Silver Center.
I'm right here. That is from their traffic study, where they have parking for 300 employees.
Not traffic count.
Well, they have
walking?
They have parking spots for 300 employees.
There's a difference between the required parking amount that the township has in their zoning ordinances and what their expected traffic levels are, which is why many of those parking spaces are held in reserve.
So why are they building 300 parking spots if they're not going to have employees using them?
They're building 167 parking spaces.
Well, the previous plan had 300.
All
So,
the plans have 300, because that is what our zoning ordinance requires.
all right, but I'm sorry. Even 167 employees, that's a lot of traffic on
I'm asking
Birdhouse
where
Hill
you got your
Road.
number, that's all I was
From
asking.
their plan,
You're saying you have 300 parking spaces?
Yes.
Not their traffic study.
right?
Their traffic study does have
300
calculations.
parking spaces, and that is where I'm getting that number.
There is reference, just for the planning commission, there is, and we're talking about
And I'm
traffic.
sorry, but
generation.
even 167 cars on Burnhouse Hill Road at between 8 and 9 in the morning, that's a lot
Bus
of
stops, school
cars.
stops, curiosity, push car.
We cannot accommodate.
asking where your value came from, because they have a traffic study, and if you were.
It came from, I'm sorry, the 300 came from the parking spaces.
Don't get defensive.
I'm not, I'm just clarifying.
So, and I'm telling you that the traffic study has an actual traffic count based on their proposal. And I'm telling you the planning commission, your number is based on the 300 parking spaces, which they're only building 167. Their traffic says they're going to have a total of 93 trips per day for the passenger vehicles.
They're only gonna have 45 employees.
93 trips, which is 93 come in, 93 go out. We're not talking tractor trailers, you made a comment. 386 total trips, 93 in, 93 out.
That's a lot of
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just telling you that it's not 300.
It's not 93. We still disagree. We fundamentally believe that our community cannot handle that traffic on Burnham.
And I'm not arguing, I'm just asking you to figure out where your number came from. And I've been just going through
Alright, folks, please.
I don't have a question, I just want to make sure that everyone understands. In accordance with the motor vehicle, in accordance with the motor vehicle code, which is a PennDOT code, not a township code, you are not permitted, or you are not given the right to walk down a road that is not provided with a crosswalk or a bike lane. So when you said that people have the right to walk down the road, I know people do it. Please don't get upset with me. I'm just telling, I want to clarify, you are not road.
Okay. Good argument there, buddy.
So much money on all of the bike paths.
Bike paths are different, they are off-road.
Then why? Why?
Because they have served the vehicle code.
Guys, if everybody's listening, come on. Everybody's
I'll ask
talking,
you
no
this,
one's
we ask you to
listening.
stand back.
Where are you?
Stand back.
So your assertion that this is a G6 truck terminal is simply because of the cross dock. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's a transfer of freight, it's the far lesser amount of storage in this building than a traditional storage warehouse. It's the number of truck bays, it's the whole premise of, and I encourage you when you have a chance to see that video.
I understand what the cross bay, and I think I've heard them say that the cross bay is not 100% set in stone.
We'll take their word for it.
The largest supplier of auto parts from the East Coast. Last year, the company made $22 million profit.
Nothing to do with this. Mr. Hayes is not an applicant of this.
I'm sure, okay. Mr. Saying he's not an applicant.
And I'll maybe I'll clarify. Is the design set in stone that it's going to have cross bays?
No.
No, it's not. So, and that's what I'm asking. If they get rid of the cross bays, does that get rid of it being a truck terminal, or is your opinion it's a truck terminal no matter what they do to it?
No matter what they do.
It's not by highway.
Need a highway.
I know, that's fine. I'm done asking the question.
I'll defer to our council, Peter Nelson.
Mr. Gray, Peter Nelson, Green Manufacturer. I represent the resident group here. As far as the cross bay goes, if they're not going to propose a cross bay, then they need to submit a new plan. The plan they submitted is a cross bay plan. It's what they described it as. It's what they're proposing. For them now to back out of it, oh fine, back out of it, but then submit a new plan and start from scratch. This is like someone saying, okay, they first proposed townhomes. Oh, not allowed. No, we mean can't be flexible like that. Furthermore, there's a whole bunch of court cases out there that says making promises to comply with the ordinance once the thing is built doesn't show compliance.
I'm telling you, you probably already know, this is the planning commission, they're a recommending agency.
Correct.
Board of supervisors, when they issue their approval or denial of the project, will either note reasons why it's being denied or conditions of what needs to be provided. And I am sure that one of the conditions of a preliminary plan approval, if it were to come, and I'm not suggesting that it would be the discussion about the cross dock at the final, which is when you finalize little details, and again, I'm not saying little, when you finalize the detail between the preliminary and the final. That's why this commission, as well as I think everybody on the township staff, is supporting this as a preliminary final. So,
And my point is that if they are going to make such a radical change to the building and to the plan and to the information provided, not only to this body, but to various other township bodies that have already provided recommendations, as well as to the board of supervisors, it's a new plan. It needs to start from the get-go. They can't come in and then when we say, hey, you're misclassifying this plan, all of a sudden we were forced to say, well, we're going to propose something different.
I mean, I think they said that before Jeff's presentation, so I'm not.
We heard from them. Sorry. We hear from the chief.
Sir, who are you?
My name is Peter Nelson. I'm an attorney. I represent the citizens.
Okay, if you have a card, could you please give it to our
Yes, I will.
secretary? Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay. Anybody else on the? I'm sorry. Okay, folks, a couple of more comments. Please make sure there's something you have not already heard, because time goes by and, yeah, just give me my, yeah, she's talking right after her. Okay.
When you put in a pull out to give me a waiver?
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, my name is Elaine Coswell. I am a 25-year resident on John Dyer Way, Plumstead Township. While I do not live in Buckingham Township, in many ways, John Dyer Way, which sits directly across the street from this property, tends to have a greater, sorry, whatever that is, a microphone, has a greater environmental impact, especially with water runoff. I have lived in this neighborhood for 25 years. People don't understand the slope that we see moving from this tract of land down into our neighborhood, down to the Pine Run Creek, which goes into the Neshaminy, which eventually goes into the Delaware River. Environmental concerns knows no boundaries. I spent the weekend reading the post-construction stormwater management report. It's exciting for a weekend. It's 284 pages. I confess I didn't get through all 284. But here are my concerns in reading that. And I also want to put out, we have a neighbor who works for the state of New Jersey who's very high up in the environmental department. So I did a lot of conferring with him. And I also know somebody who worked for the health department in Perkins Soil who just retired for 30 years. So I did a lot of conferring with that person. That person looked at the plan and was very concerned about the amount of impervious surface that's going to be developed and what that will do into the runoff, into our neighborhood. The plan is based on the stormwater management ordinance for Bucks County, for Buckingham Township, which was designated in November of 2010. A lot has changed since then. When we look at the reports of climate change and looking at NOAA and rainfall rates and things like that, the 10 warmest years of our climate have been from between 2013 and 23, with 2023 being the warmest year on record. We look at our neighborhood and we are seeing this. I included pictures here of some of the flooding. I asked our neighbors to please share some photos. The middle picture with the blue sky, it's hard for everybody to see, but you can actually see the top of the hill for the deeper on-road track and see how it does slow down. One neighbor actually posted how much runoff is coming in from Landisville Landisville Road into our neighborhood, and then it also comes down cross-section, and then it sits on others. We now have the people that are down at the bottom of the hill, who are, by the way, backing up to designated wetlands, because I have the wetlands maps. And there is a swale there before it goes to land, and then the Pine Run Creek. Those swales now are washing away the bridges that were built there 30 years ago. And now, and for the last 2 years, a lot of neighbors are saying, my bridge has washed 2 neighbors that 2 doors down. Neighbors are talking about the amount of topsoil that's being washed away, the amount of topsoil that they've had to bring in so the water's not pouring into their homes. So we are very concerned about this, and what we're concerned about is that we are all on wells. 70 homes, 92 kids in that neighborhood. Yes. What kind of toxic effects could we get? Yes, I was impressed when I saw what type of environmental remediations that are suggested, but you can't base your data off of historical rainfall records. We need to be looking ahead and looking at the present and what's happening to the environment right now. And it has changed dramatically since then. And I also read that they are looking at some of this development of the water runoff based on 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year records of previous rainfall, and then wanting that to be the same moving forward 5, 10, 25, 50, 100 years. It can't be the same because the environment is so different now, and it's affecting us. And we on John Dyer Way have already been affected by fallout from another toxic. There was a group of arborvitae that caught on fire about a biotech center, and this was 10, 20 years ago. And because of the fire retardant, we now have PFAS in our well water. And so a lot of people had to pay $6,000 to get that. So what kind of runoff are we going to get? Just last Friday, if any of you drove down Landisville Road between John Dyer Way and Burnhouse Hill Road, how many of you slipped off of the road? Because a garbage truck drove down on our road. And it spewed oil all the way down the road. Who's to say that's not going to happen once the tractor trailers come? What kind of concerned because of our aquifers. How are our aquifers going to get polluted? Also, they're proposing a private sewer system for this for the warehouse. If you get heavy rainfall, what kind of infiltration are you going to get? Where is that located in relation to the aquifer? How's that affecting our water, as well as the wells along Cold Spring Premier Road for all of you who are on public water as well? So, and then one other thing that I do want to, and we're talking about turbidity, the amount of inorganic particles that can get into our water. Will the builder, we're going on record and saying, for our neighborhood, if these are concerns, and if the quality of our water changes, we want the builder to pay for our filtration.
Yes.
Federal and state assistance, because this could cost us thousands of dollars, but more importantly, the effects on our health. That's number one. And also, I have been driving past this intersection of Stony Lane. I have to go there all the time. And for 25 years, I have been seeing tractor trailers coming out of there from the small warehouse, making the left onto Landisville Road. It's not pretty. It's not a pretty site. There's not room there, and you can't widen that intersection there either, because directly across the street from Homestead Township, on Landisville side, there's water running alongside that. And the Homestead supervisors have gone on record to tell me they're not in favor of this too. We all moved here because this is an amazing, idyllic area, and I know you're all here for the same thing. And we're just coming to you to help us preserve the quality of life that we all came to love and know we don't want to give it up. Thank you.
My name is Natalie Scutalis. As residents of Buckingham Township, it's already been stated how. Excuse me? live Arbor Lane. Arbor Lane off of Landisville.
No, they need to know that for the record.
Okay, Arbor Lane. off
Okay,
of
Buckingham.
Landisville Road, Buckingham.
You're looking, okay, please go ahead.
Okay. You had mentioned that we're very concerned, as has already been said, about being able to walk on our roads, cycle, children, adults, walk with your pets. You said that PennDOT is not going to waive, there's not a right of way for people doing that, but are these roads PennDOT roads?
No, the motor vehicle code, which also applies to township roads, specifically states that vehicles are given right of way unless there is a shoulder marked with a white line, then you have to stand on the outside of the white line. If there's no line, you need to remove yourself from the road. If you're in a crosswalk, you are given the right of way. So technically, you're only given right of way if you're in a marked crosswalk or behind the white lines on the road. The motor vehicle code applies to all roads. So
So
unless
what's
it's
the difference between PennDOT, you said PennDOT, so that's 413
PennDOT, the motor vehicle code applies to all roads. You know, the township could have standards above PennDOT's requirements, but typically when it comes to pedestrian right of way, we want you to stay in bike lane. We want you to, right, so that's.
But we don't have, but that's understandable.
Well, then we would have to widen and improve roads to a point where you would be losing property because there are a lot of roads out there that are on the
Thank you.
All right, guys, one more talk. We hear you, okay? This is our second meeting. I think we've heard your concern. I think we've all heard your concern. You made a presentation with all your facts, which we have. We'll read and then pass along. I think what we need to do, because I think we have talked ourselves out of this. We hear your problems, traffic,
Pollution.
Zoning! Zoning!
Arterial roads.
We're not zoning. If you have zoning issues, you have to go to zoning board.
This isn't in front of zoning.
Just hold on just a second, please. What we really need to do, we've heard you, we've read the plans, we've read what the applicant wants to say. We're gonna have to pass this on to the supervisors. They're the ones who will make the final decision.
What's your recommendation?
Hold on. We have reservations, just hold on a minute. We have reservations about this plans as far as the traffic and pollution and all that go. However, we also understand that the plan meets all the requirements for a warehouse. I don't care what you call it, back house, full house, whatever. It meets the requirements of our saldo.
It does
Just hold on a minute. It meets those requirements. So in that respect, we would recommend, as far as, it's not the warehouse that we have problems with, it's the traffic, it's the pollution.
We will see you in court.
They have met all the requirements of the township.
Planning boards will never take responsibility ever.
So I do recommend
It's over.
However, we do have some misgivings, very serious misgivings about the traffic issues, about the pollution it might cause, about the other.
Zoning classification.
We're not in zoning.
Oh, we're going there.
They submitted a plan saying it's G3, when it's really
G6. You accept it.
and it's really.
They're liars.
They've heard your presentation, okay? They will take that under advisement, they will pass that on to the board. I'm sure the solicitor will talk with your attorney, Mr. Murphy, and they will come to an agreement of whether this plan filed under the correct G3, that is what we are reviewing, a G3 use. We are not reviewing a G6 use. If this is a G6 use, as we get through this process, again, this is a preliminary plan. We will go to a final plan, and some of those details will be cleared up by then. Trust me, that will be an issue that will be talked about. This is the first we've heard of your objection to it, and I'm sure that the solicitor, will address it.
Rebecca, what is your view on this proposal?
We can't hear you.
For the use of this land that we've watched closely for many years, as we read what it could be,
I go for the lumber yard.
and understand that you will address the traffic issues that we see with improvements on Stony Lane and with channelization on Wilson.
So she's for Van, yeah. Once I heard them talking, I knew. This is, to be honest, one of the worst on planning meetings I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
We're talking, you cannot talk. Go ahead.
Okay, we're trying to do the best we can with the information that's provided. I think, well, we're not doing the best we can with the information provided.
Board seems pro warehouse.
Okay, warehouse. I said it was pro ware, hang on a second. We're hearing, right, what you're talking about, and there's a process that we follow. And I agree, what Andre was talking about, is that there are zoning questions, and that's not what our responsibilities are, right?
Then how can you vote on them?
We're not voting on zoning.
Sorry, did we vote on zoning? No. So give us a chance, right? And so and I think what we're looking at is and framing it around obvious issues that we're seeing with truck traffic, passenger car traffic. We've asked some key questions about that, and that's what we're trying to deal with. For me personally, I'm trying to look at things from what's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, the man is a volunteer.
Yeah.
He's up here, he doesn't get a dime for it. I'm against the warehouse. He's trying to explain the process. Give him an effing chance to get his word out. Listen to him. If anybody don't like it, next time a seat pops up, available, jump in. I've been on board before. I need to do it again.
Thank you for that. I didn't interrupt those that were speaking, and I listened and I took notes, because I'm trying to understand, and I'm learning just as much as you guys are, right? So help me with this. But I also am trying to look at it as, what's the right thing to do? So to me, meeting the compliance issues, that's the minimum requirement. I expect that to happen, but I only expect it to happen based on the requirements and the things that are brought forward, such as the zoning thing. At this point, I'm evaluating it based on what the zoning is set up to be. If we're mistaken by that, that's not my, that's unfortunate, but I can't control that, right? And I think the research done is very valuable and is worth providing as far as input. So again, I'm searching for what the right thing to do is. And that's a higher level than just meeting the requirements, right? I expect people to meet the requirements. So that's basically where I'm at, okay?
So what's that? So maybe?
Americans, we have ability, right to build what we need to build in the context of the law, right? We have to follow the law. And we can't just say, everyone should be driving electric cars, which I think we should. But I want, but we have to follow the law. So if this project follows the law, I don't know that, I'm not a lawyer, and that's what we're trying to figure out. And they have the right to build with their legal reason, and we can't find a reason not to, then by law, we have no reason to stop them. So that's what I'm here to find out. Do they really have this legal argument? You mentioned G6, G3. I'm confused about it. We need to learn more about this. Certainly, that's a major point. So if all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, they have a right to build. If they don't, then we have to stop them.
I guess I'll just echo what the other planners have said here today. We are part of the process. Warehouse aside, based on everything that we've heard that you offered, I do personally feel concerned about the traffic, more so than the environment. No disrespect to the environmental side. There are places where warehouses we've all seen work extremely well, and I'm not against the warehouse either. And this could ultimately become a warehouse. The Board of Supervisors take input from the public. We are here as a sounding board. They're going to hear mixed comments from us. We're not going to be all for it. The plan as is, I wouldn't say I'm against it, but would I recommend it tonight? No, I'm not. For the reasons you think, it's to send a message that we're listening. But ultimately, the Board of Supervisors will vote. So you do need to participate. Many of you, I'm sure, have in those meetings. We'll take our input. They don't have to follow it, but certainly they will internalize it. We all live here. None of us are going to be moving. We all want it to be good for all of us and for people down the road from us, if you will, for neighbors. So that's really what I think, that we need further conversation, education. Dan's been excellent in answering our technical questions. I think you should afford him the courtesy of his experience and his knowledge. And us as volunteers are here to absorb and make recommendations. Bike lanes, some of us are all in favor for. Electric cars, some of us are all in favor for. We're never going to please everyone. Is this the right application? You heard Glenn Thompson pontificate about that. I'll just leave you with this. I think we should continue the conversation and get to a point where it's mutually a acceptable and productive development for Buckingham
I don't know that there's much more that I can add, but I will say, I've been a lifetime resident of Buckingham, and my wife as well. I've sat on both sides here, so I've been in many meetings with planning commission, supervisor meetings, and we are volunteers for all residents. We listen to the comments. Decisions are made. So again, I've seen lots of change in this township, and is a warehouse perfect? No. Is a fuel storage perfect? No. I mean, there's many other uses that can be there. We're trying to work with the owner, with the developer. They have rights, and if they can do things within their rights and do them the right way, and following the letter of the law, what they have right to do, and again, I hear all the concerns of you, I hear the concerns of the traffic, and I do agree with it. So, just to kind of reiterate what all of them said, I can't get everything, but I'm following exactly.
I feel that we've done this route already. We hear you. We have your notes, which I think are pretty prolific in the information, and it's time to pass it along to somebody who can actually make a decision on this. and that's what we're going to do. We're gonna pass this
I
on.
guess our question is to echo some of your.
Can you let her finish, maybe?
Can we make a
Make a
motion,
motion,
please?
and then you can.
We'll make a motion, and then you guys can tune in.
Thank you.
We should come to a point where we have to pass this along. We could be here every month for the next year and still debated. That's not gonna help anybody. So, I would like to make a motion that we do pass this, plan along to the supervisors, Board of Supervisors, with the proviso that we have some very grave concerns regarding traffic, regarding, pollution, and that they should, this is something that they should very strongly consider. We have information here which these folks get together, I have, obviously, nobody's read it, that they should read, so, that is my.
And I just wanna make sure, you can do one of three things here. You can either recommend approval with conditions, you can recommend rejection with reasons, or you can table the action and they can come back.
No, I think we
Again,
did the
I'm
tabling
saying those
already.
are the three. So if you're going to make a recommendation for approval, and I'm only giving you this as if this is where you wanna go, I can give you the other ones if you wanna go there. If there's going to be a recommendation for approval, my suggestion is that it includes the commitment by the developer to widen and improve both green grass. Stony Lane to 24 feet with 2-foot shoulders, part of their waiver request offer.
You don't have to give them any waiver, it's the wrong classification. They lied about it.
I will get there, okay? They will make the improvements to Old Easton Road and Landisville Road as depicted in their traffic study. With coordination with Plumstead Township, because that is intersection with Plumstead. And that they will verify all the existing traffic movements along Stony Lane and Landisville and Old Easton Road. The three issues that we talked about, traffic, if all the traffic is going to go that way, those are the recommended improvements. That they confirm their commitment to no 24-hour operation. That the township solicitor, that the G3 use versus the G6 use was resolved to the township solicitor satisfaction, in coordination with the applicant's attorney as well as, the resident's attorney if they choose to enter into those discussions. That the, site will be, balanced with respective cuts and fills. That they will comply with all of the township consultant review letters. That all of the waivers that were talked about, and the two that we really touched on, which were changes, were the cut and fill and the landscaping issue that Carol and I kind of disagreed, that they agreed to provide that.
Our hope will comply.
And then, the last was the recommendation, from my office that the official renderings, from the adjacent streets be provided to the board's consideration when they come before the board. That would be the recommendation. If you wanted to make that, for approval, if you want to go the other way.
Yeah, we have to send this along, guys, because we could be talking here for months and nothing would happen.
And you had expressed an interest for the sidewalk along Stony Lane.
Absolutely.
That was not, that it was a recommendation on that be deferred.
On whose property?
And that, as far as I, explained to you, can be provided along their development, one of the voice tracks, and as well as the airport parcel that's part of all of this. If you were asking them to do something beyond that, that would be a heavier recommendation that I think you just need to consider with the provision that the township will be able to acquire the adjacent rights. So,
Did you get that?
so some would have to make that recommendation, and it would need to be seconded, and then you would
Okay,
take.
somebody wants to second that?
Commission,
Yeah,
and comments from the
anybody else?
public.
Comments from,
Just one thing I'd like to offer, based on my experience as being on the commission, as we've approved things, this this is the longest list of conditions that I can ever remember giving to the board of supervisors, right? And I think the point that Andre is making is that we're following a process, and we need to move the process, and we'll put this in quotes, forward. In order for us to get this resolved to the level that we need to, it really needs to get in front of the board of supervisors so that they can make the proper decision-making, and if they need to, reassign it even for zoning and those sorts of things. So that's part of this recommendation with a long list of conditions. And like I said, in my experience, this is probably the longest list I can see, and probably the most serious list that I can So I just want to
Sorry, can I just-
put it in perspective for everyone here.
Okay, anybody else have any comments on this?
Yeah, just the EPA requirements. Should we add that? I did not, they would be subject to all your health and safety requirements from DEP, Department of Health, obviously, the building sewer, if there's sewer, septic. I don't know, is there something specific with EPA?
I don't remember reading specifically the conclusion from the DEP or the environmental.
We wouldn't get that. They do have a NPDS permit, which would be, submitted as part of the processing between preliminary and final, that they would have to have before development. That's a little bit more related to earth disturbance, but as part of that, there are other studies and investigations they need to do about wildlife and those kind of things. So if there are any hurdles or things that would require a greater level than what they're proposing to get to the DEP on, that would come out in those responses. So, and that is in my letter that they have all the appropriate reviews, including from DEP.
And that includes air pollution?
The air pollution, I don't know, unless someone provides us with something that this clearly violates an air pollution standard. They do need to comply with Clean Air Act. I mean, part of what Dan did at the township is your state emissions. Your cars aren't subject to township requirements, they're subject to the state requirements. So any kind of, emission type kind of thing would fall under those state requirements, and it's not something the township has any kind of regulations on. What was mentioned about noise, the township obviously has a noise ordinance that they would be required to comply with, and if there is evidence at the time when that occurs that they are over and above the permitted numbers, the township does have enforcement activities that they can do against an applicant. I will say that these noise ordinance provisions are more of a sustaining nature, and again, if a truck was sitting out there revving its engine for 5 minutes, the police could get, the sound, that would be a violation. If it's just a truck leaving, that would be different. So there are enforcement provisions in our ordinance and standards, and that includes smell and all the other things. So that would be a reactive kind of response.
So Dan, about water, you mentioned, how does a development like this assure a resident that there will be no more runoff, or how do you?
So the stormwater management report that she was so eloquently said before, is what Greg and I do for a living. So they are required to reduce the rate of runoff and the volume of runoff. For the county-wide study that Homestead, Buckingham, and anybody in the Chamonix watershed is responsible for, this site requires the 2 to the 1 and 5 to the 2, I believe. It's in the second, in sub-area A. We do have other places, and when I say 2 to 1, so they have to go from the 2-year storm event post-development back to the 1-year storm event in pre-development. So whatever runs off there now, they have to take the next storm up back. And I know it used to be the 80% district, so we would make them reduce to 80%. It's essentially what it is now. The District County made it more difficult to explain to you people for some reason. I don't know why they did it. But they have also provided, we also have a greater standard than DEP. DEP requires the volume of runoff from the site to be equal to the 2-year storm pre to post. Ours is 5-year, and they have gone above and beyond that. I believe they're all the way up to 100 years. So the runoff volume from the site for the 100-year storm event with the new impervious is less than comes off the site today. So in addition to the rate requirements of reducing it well beyond what is the minimum standard, they're also infiltrating more water into the ground. So stormwater wise, they're doing more than they have to. And you know, I don't want to commend any developer, but they have gone over and above with the stormwater, which is why we don't have very many comments on the stormwater.
Yeah, just wanted to add that, again, you know, as Glenn said, we have to sort of move this through the process, and this is very early in the process. So, you know, I'm sure many are upset, whatever happens tonight. But again, you know, from the supervisors, the concerns about hazardous materials and the concerns of all that, you know, that will get looked at by zoning. Even if something gets built, and occupant is still gonna go in front of, you know, I guess, file application for zoning. They'll look at what chemicals are stored there, the fire marshal will look at this. So there, you know, there are checks and balances, there are reviews all the way through this process before anybody would even occupy a building. So.
Any other comments from the board? Okay, then I'm going to.
You want to get comments?
Yeah. I believe the lady back there had.
Sorry, yeah, I just have this one question for a while.
Please, so we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I'm Karina and I live in John Dyer Way off Landisville Road. And I think I raised this question the last time and I'm still not sure of the answer.
I think you did.
The traffic study. No, my question is the traffic study. So when was the traffic, because everyone, I think all of the board were unanimous that the traffic study was a big concern. So when was the traffic study done? And the second question is, my understanding was our neighbourhood was not included in that traffic study.
Correct.
And we have 72 houses in that neighbourhood, most with 3 to 4 car owners in there alone. So my recommendation, because that sounds like you're going to make the decision either way, but there should be another traffic study done at a point of time truly representative of what the amount of traffic will be on both Landisville Road, Burnt House, Stoney and Cold Spring, because you cannot direct the traffic and people are going to use our road as a cut through. It's already bad enough as it is. So I really believe that should be something that should be in one of your proposals, is a new traffic study done at a relevant time of day when the Camp Curiosity is coming out, when the kids are going to school, when the people are going back and forth to work, and it covers Landisville Road as well, not just up to Stoney Lane and Landisville Road.
And can I just?
I didn't get her name.
Karina Blair.
Your bowling place?
Sorry?
Your name?
Karina Blair.
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 Sorry, it's the accent. It's not you. We can hear you.
So, and if I could just to respond, their traffic study, again, traffic study is something that takes a little while. They don't just turn it on and off. So I believe they did manual traffic counts in March 2023 and September 2023. So they twice went out and looked, and
Could we get the days and the times of those? Because it's
during
very
the study,
important.
and again, I can certainly give you, I know, March 7th sticks in my mind because I was looking for something specific that I wanted to see temperature, weather on the pedestrians. The majority of the traffic counts were taken on March 7th, and then they came back and did some additional traffic counts in that September, might even been 17th. For some reason, I don't know.
And what times of day
They
done
take
it?
them all day.
Okay.
So it's a thing
Not
they
all
put
the
out.
roads, she mentioned that.
I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
So the traffic study requirements talk about very specific places where they need to analyze, and it's really the route out to the major collectors, because the idea is they're looking at the impact that this development will have as they leave this site and go out to the main roads where they're going. So while they did not specifically look at why they did not look at your particular intersection, they did look at Landisville and Burton House Hill, and they did look at Landisville and Stoney Lane, and they know what the traffic that went down that road in both directions. So they do a bunch of studies at various intersections based on the criteria that's laid out for all traffic studies. So some of the smaller, I think someone mentioned Boxwood, that doesn't have a direct route out of the neighborhood or out of the development into their neighborhood. There's no expectation that you're going to get 300 cars that are going to drive into your neighborhood or exit out of your neighborhood, so they don't study those intersections. if the traffic went out to Cold Spring Creamery Road, we would certainly look at your intersection, that would be. If traffic went out onto your stretch of Landisville Road, then we would look at your intersection and the impacts that traffic would have there. They would, and we would do it.
But that's the point, you can't, those 170, 300 parking space for the employees, how can you direct where they're going to go?
Well,
Because
again,
they're not going to want to go the
that's
same way as
part
the
of
tractor
traffic
trailer.
study. And don't try not to take this wrongly, and this goes back to anybody. The traffic study is available. The township has a copy here you can come get. As you mentioned, you had to get a right to know to actually get a physical copy to take out of the building, but you can come and review the traffic study.
You can get it on our website.
Sorry?
NoBuckinghamWarehouse.com has it.
Thank you for the plug. So if you get the traffic study and you want to take it to a traffic consultant and have them point out the issues and say, wow, they did something really wrong, like Jeff did today, that would be something that you have the right to do. The township relies on the developer to submit a report and its consultants to review to determine if that report is compliant with our codes or if there are modifications needed. We are still reviewing traffic studies. There are still comments in my review. I'm not sure if the township planner has any comments, but there are continual discussions on the traffic study. These things are never perfect the first time. So as we go through this, if you or if you have a consultant that sits there and says, you really need to look at this for this reason, and the township agrees, we'll ask the developer to look at it. We just can't ask them to do everything on every intersection in the township.
But I think that's not quite right, though, is it? Because I'm not asking you to do it on every intersection around the neighbourhood. I'm just saying the ones that impact the circle all the way around. So all I'm saying is look at all the impacts that all along Landisville Road, all along Burnt House, all along Cold Spring, and all along Stoney. Every single one of those. And also the other question, sorry Dan, just before I finish, is was this done before that new intersection happened by the Wawa?
I'm sorry?
Where the traffic, was that done after or before?
This revision to the traffic study included the analysis at that signal.
It included the analysis, but not the actual traffic, right? This was done in March when the Wawa didn't open until May, correct, Dan?
Right. The study and we talked about this at the last meeting, we asked the study to be amended to include the traffic counts and the traffic analysis that was performed as part of the Fred Beans Hyundai, which just came in this past year. And I'm not sure when those studies were done. But that additional information was not generated with the first review or the first submittal. We asked them to add that because that data had then become available. So those data counts at the Research Way were actual counts that they had taken. And again, I don't know the date of when they took that. So just don't know what.
Thank you for the clarification.
This lady's been waiting here patiently. Please, who are you?
Allison Foster, and I'm Granite Court, Buckingham. I just have two questions. Question number one, when you were doing your presentation, you mentioned something about offsites. What did you mean by that?
I was referring to portions of Stony Lane that are beyond the frontage of the site. So we said that we commit to improving from the driveway up to Landisville Road. So Landisville Road and Stony Lane is offsite to us.
Thank you.
Next question.
Next question is, obviously this is a hot topic for all of us, and you have a lot of people participating. I think it was a real shame that people out in the hallway could not participate. I think the request was made to hold this in a bigger venue, and the request was denied.
That is correct.
And what I'd like to request moving forward is.
And that request will go to the township manager. These are just
I
volunteers.
understand.
So I guess, I know that request. You guys had an email campaign to the township manager.
No, I want to finish.
Okay.
I was not part of that request. I'm saying that this is important to all of us, and everybody should have a voice, and everybody should have the opportunity to hear this conversation. This conversation is crucial to the decisions that are going to be made. And I know that you guys are talking about moving this on. I'm asking, how do we make the request from whoever gets this next? You're going to have this kind of participation. How do we encourage doing this in a place where more people can participate?
And that's what I was trying to get you before I asked the question. These individuals are all volunteers. They do not hold positions in the township building. I am an engineer, I'm a consultant, I don't hold an office here. Lori, who is the recording secretary, is the only person here who works in the township building. And she knows that you had followed your request before, or maybe not you, but somebody else, some other people did. The township considered that. If you would like to ask that, you're more than welcome to ask. I just saying that this is not the entity that is going to be able to change venues. They don't have the ability to do that, nor do they have the authority. So if we're back to the township manager, back to the board of supervisors, obviously the next step, if this does get passed on to them, would be before the board of supervisors. And again, if you would like to re-ask that, question of whether if the township wants to consider a change in venue, you can certainly have that request. And I'm sure they will consider it in the same way that they considered it.
Let's let out lawyer talk.
Okay, yes, sir.
Consider the planning commission. Your job is to provide advice and recommendations to the board of supervisors. You've all stated you've gotten a lot of information at this meeting that you need to review. I don't understand the rush to judgment. I don't understand the need for it. I don't understand why, knowing you've gotten additional information, knowing you, in saying that you need to review it, that you're now saying, no, we're just gonna pass this along. I think this absolutely should be tabled. There is no reason why the township solicitor cannot address this question of whether or not this is a G3 or G6 use prior to you making a recommendation to the board of supervisors. I think, in my experience, and I've been doing this work like your solicitor for over 2 decades. I have represented numerous planning commissions on the side of the township. I don't understand why you need to rush to judgment when this is obviously a massive, massive issue before not only this township, but neighboring townships.
I do not feel that we are rushing anything. We looked at just a minute. We looked at the plan that was presented to us. This is our second round. The plans that were presented, the compliance with the township engineer, with the landscape design, we looked at that, and that is what we had. These new information that we got is new information that we got, and a lot of it is not something that we can deal with. We do not deal with zoning. We don't, we're not zoning. So it's time for us.
You deal with zoning compliance. Your recommendation is that you have found them in full compliance with the township zoning ordinance, with the township saldo, and pursuant to the waiver. I'm telling you, what we presented to you today is that, no, it is not in compliance with zoning, and that you should not give a recommendation because it does not comply with zoning.
We are not zoning.
Let me clarify. The township is reviewing an application for a G3 warehouse use. That is what the application is before us. The township is not reviewing a G6. You made the example of it, you proposed townhouses and then you came in and turned in a plan for a single family that would cause all kinds of problems. I agree. You come in with a plan for a single family where a townhouse is required, you will not get your building permits. They come in with a plan that is a G6 down the road after all these people have made their recommendations, boards approved plans, and they come in with a parcel hub or something that is completely contrary to what this application proposed. Both the township zoning officer and I'm sure everyone on the staff is going to reject that application for a building permit for a use that isn't approved. So this planning commission is reviewing an application for a G3. If it is found at some point, in any point moving forward, this is a G6, which I don't know if I agree with your rationale and Jeff's rationale, and we can have that discussion, and that's why you good lawyers get to have your conversations. If it is determined to be a G6, and then there are a whole bunch of things that this G3 plan doesn't do. and they would have to refile the plan under a different application, a whole different time, all different reviews, all different conditions. Right now, we're looking at a G3 plan. That is what they are recommending, at least that's what the motion is. If this is a G6 plan, it does not have a recommendation for approval. We're all back here again doing this again. 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 7 years, or never. So just don't take it that they're approving a G6 use. They are not approving a G6 use, they're approving a G3 use.
And my
And
point
recommending an
is,
approval, I'm sorry.
yeah, they're making a recommendation, but they should, this planning commission should have the advice from you and the township solicitor whether or not our argument is correct. And then based on that recommendation, they can then make a vote on this plan. To now vote with this, which is really one of the most essential preliminary questions, is what use does this plan classify under? That's something that should occur.
Your opinion. I personally don't hold that same opinion. And if you're going to ask the solicitor for that, then you can ask them at the board of supervisors meeting.
We're planners.
Right? They are
Correct.
reviewing the
You're planners, and
G3.
you should provide, recommendation, and I think this question should be resolved before you provide a recommendation.
We can do this, we can argue this online.
We're not, I'm sorry, I'm not here to force you to understand it. And quite frankly, I find your lack of political thought. But to decide the point, we're making a recommendation, and the recommendation includes a long list of conditions, and we move this forward. I'm sorry you don't understand.
They're just passing the buck. They won't make any decisions. All these things. Yep.
We have made the recommendation, Lauren, you are not at all? Okay? Motion, all in favor?
Hold on, I'm trying to climb through.
No.
Guys, the next step, it's going to go to the supervisors. I'm sure you are all here to give your opinion. Yes, sir, please.
One thing to tell the supervisors, I got here at 6:15, I'm handicapped, 2 handicap parking spaces. They had 4 little signs here for handicapped. I got out there for some reason. There's, what, 50 people out there in the hallway at least?
You can't do anything.
Yes, you can. You manage this meeting. You manage this meeting, correct? And you tell the supervisors and you tell the city staff that this was wrong. The microphone doesn't work. Your microphone's, I don't know. That's ridiculous. It's on. You know, you want to be respectful if you guys volunteer, blah, blah, blah. Be respectful of the citizens that struggle to get here, you know. I can't hear half of what these people say. I definitely can hear him mumbling or you mumbling, well, I can hear you, you're good. Brother. Thank you, Dan. We got loud stuff. We won't, never mind. This meeting, you tell us that the township is not required to use with the fees
We will do that.
Again, as we told everybody when we do these meetings, we will endeavor to let the contact person, who I think is still Jeff, really good said, you would do.
That was the commitment on February 7th. Today, I received the agenda for this meeting, and the plans were submitted on April 11th, and I got them about a week later.
How's that look?
Again, I keep the township.
I don't do anything.
You make a commitment, that's deliver on it, and get the information that I want to.
Yeah, so are you asking for advance notice? I mean, what is your request?
When the document comes in, a new plan submission, that sort of thing.
I can't guarantee the township is going to be able to do that, but I will pass it on. Okay. So if there's anybody else that needs to be notified that is not part of Jeff's group, please let Marie know. She will put you on the list to add you to the notification if you don't want to be included in Jeff's and his group notification.
In the township's denial of the change of venue request, they made a point of letting us know that it is the township's responsibility to make sure that the meetings are held at the same place at the same time every year, and folks depend on that.
True.
Great. The next township supervisor meeting is not on the fourth Wednesday of the month, like it is supposed to be. It is actually on May 14th, in 2 weeks from now, which would be completely against everything that the township has said about regular meetings. And I assume that this meeting is now scheduled to be in front of the township supervisors in 2 weeks from now.
No?
I don't know.
It's their call.
Yes,
She's available and someone, yeah.
It's sort of understand why people are.
Part of all of this is that's why we
They're
don't
gonna have trouble the amount of people coming out.
before what is on the agenda.
These people are just so
Can't
they're
guarantee
morons.
it'll be in May. Until April 1st, I believe, when the project has to be.
So May 14th is the next meeting, April 1st would be well before. Would be well before, so we can assume that it'll be
She's been for the whole. She's been for as soon as you
get a
walked in.
notice when the township has it in the agenda. You want to call Friday before and ask. I'm sure someone could, advise you. I just don't know what is on the agenda.
Everything's not my job. What is your job?
4 hours in advance.
But you're gonna vote.
That is what the
You're gonna
requirement
vote on it. You're gonna say yes. That's your job.
So we're gonna give the entire town of Buckingham 24 hours notice as to whether the most unpopular project in the township in decades is going to be on an agenda.
I'm just saying what the requirement is. You can call and ask at any other point.
When will we be able to know?
I don't think the township is trying to hide this from you. I'm just trying to hide this from
So we can find a bigger venue in time. If we get 24 hours notice, there's no way we're gonna be able to find a bigger venue.
Those are things the township considers when they are selecting the agenda. And the agenda is a very thing. There's other projects in this township, not just this one. So that's why the agenda is looked at before the board meeting. It's not as if it's an automatic approval.
Yeah, probably for that.
Mr. Glitzer? I'm not hard to reach, I look forward to your call. Ms. Murphy, good one. I look forward to your call.
Michael, he has to talk to me, he can't talk to you.
Second, okay, folks, we need to get up to work in the morning.
Thank you.